Hi, I'm Michael D'Souza. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how to install Ghost locally for Headless CMS. Let's jump right in. So the first step in installing Ghost is to install Node from the Node.js.org website. I already have Node, but if you do not have Node, you can just click on the link or go to Node.js.org and it'll detect what version of operating system you have. So if you have Windows like me, all you have to do is click on the download link, which will download an installer. And once you have that installer, you just run it, follow the wizard, and once it completes, you will have Node installed. So going back to Visual Studio Code, I'm actually using the terminal that's integrated within Visual Studio Code, but you could always use the Windows command line or other options. So a CMD will get you to the command prompt, or if you're using Linux or Mac, you can use the terminal window, or again, you can use the terminal that's integrated into your Visual Studio Code. So the first step is just to make sure that we actually have Node installed. So let's go and do a node -v. And we can see I've got version 12, which is sufficient. And the next step is to check for the Node Package Manager. So we'll do an npm -v. It should already be installed when you did the Node installation. I've got version 6, which is also sufficient, so we're ready to install Ghost. So the first step is to do a make directory for Ghost, and I'm going to do that in my projects directory, but you can do it wherever makes sense for you. And then once we've made that directory, we're just going to change directory and go inside. Okay, so now that we've created a directory for Ghost, we're just going to go and install it using the npm command here. So I'm going to run this. So what this is saying is we're doing an npm install -g, which is global, of the Ghost CLI and obviously the latest version. So this is going to take a few seconds, less than a minute. Once that's done, I'm actually going to run this next command, ghost install local. And what the ghost install local does is it sets up a version of Ghost that's going to be run on your local workstation, most likely for development purposes. When you install Ghost on a server, it's quite a bit different, and I'll be talking about how you can install Ghost on a server instance in a future video. So let's go ahead and do the Ghost install local. While that's running, why would you actually want to run Ghost as a headless CMS? Well, Ghost comes installed with two default UIs, one that the user would see when they come to see the blog, and one for its admin. You can choose to use one or the other, or both, or none at all. But if you're like me and you want to keep your look and feel of your entire website consistent, then you want to use the back end and store all the information associated with your blog post using the Ghost database, and then access that through its content API. So today what we'll do is we'll actually, once this starts running, we'll use Postman to make those REST requests. And in a future video, we'll look at how we can use React and Node.js to actually make the calls to the Ghost CMS and retrieve information on the blogs, and then use that to create a blog piece of information or a blog page on an actual website. Okay, so that's actually run. So we're going to control click, and this is going to take us to the admin for Ghost. We can see it says Ghost admin, and it asks us to set up Ghost for the first time. So let's go ahead and create our account. We'll just create the Ghost. We'll just create the Ghost blog, and we're going to call this demo blog, and we're just going to do info@aspericity.com. And it's going to suggest a default password, which I'm just going to take, and you should click on this and just do a quick copy and then make sure you save it somewhere so that you can come into the admin later on. So let's click this green button to move to the next step, which is also the last step. And in fact, we don't have anything to do here other than click this. I'll do this later. Take me to my site, because this is asking for additional users. And since this is a development version of Ghost that we're running locally on our machine, we don't really need other users for this. So we'll click that. I'll do this later. And we're in. Here we are on the Ghost blog admin site. And if we just want to see what the normal Ghost site for the user looks like and how its default user interface looks, we can go to the local host here and we can see here's Ghost with some default posts that are in fact quite useful for just figuring out, how to use Ghost. So it's got a few like organizing your content, creating a custom theme, etc., etc. But obviously for today's video, we want to look at how to use the content API and do REST requests against it. So the only thing we actually need to do is set up a custom integration. So we do that by clicking on this integrations link in this left nav over here. And on this page, we actually have to add a custom integration. So we're going to do that, and we'll call it demo blog. Blog access. So click create. And really that's it. At this point, we can add a description. So demo blog access, but really all we need is this content API key. So we're going to click save so that we actually save this, and then we'll come back here in a second to grab this content API key. So the last step is to actually run a REST request against this default set of default blog that's been created on our local machine. So to do that, I'm going to use Postman, which is a nice tool for doing REST requests. If you don't have Postman, you can just come to this link, postman.com/downloads. And again, it will detect your operating system, and you can just click download, and it'll take you through a installer program to download and install Postman for your operating system. So once it's ready, so this is how it'll look when you load Postman for the first time. You can click here to create a collection, which is the first step. We'll just create a Ghost blog collection. Click create. And inside the Ghost blog collection, we're just going to go and add a request here. So we're going to add a new request, and we're going to do a REST get of all the posts. So we'll save that to Ghost blog. And now when we expand this, we can see we've got to get posts. So now we need to actually put the request URL in here. And in fact, I've just got that ready to go right here. So we're just going to copy that and paste it over. And we can see that there's a single query param that goes into this endpoint. So we have the localhost server and its port, followed by the admin path, followed by this API v3 content path. And then lastly, we select the endpoint we want. So as mentioned, we have this one query param called key, and we need to add that API key that we created in the administration. So let's go back to the admin site for Ghost. We're going to go and copy this content API key. We're going to come back to Postman and just paste that at the end of our request, and we can see that it populates this value in the query params. And then click send. And lo and behold, we have the list of posts. We've retrieved all the posts, the default posts that were created for Ghost that we saw on the actual user site. So then we can take this information, and use it to make these REST requests in our React or Node.js or other front end, and then use it to populate that front end and display the information here in the user interface that we want, as opposed to the default one that Ghost provides you. So that's how to use Ghost as a headless CMS. The only last thing I want to show you is one more request here, where we do the get posts by ID. So we're going to save that again. We're going to go in here. I've got this ready to go right here. So we're just going to copy that over, paste it in. One more time, we need the API key from the blog. So we're just going to copy that, come back and paste. And the last thing we need to do is actually select the ID of the post that we specifically want. So in this case, we actually already have that when we got the entire list of posts. So we're just going to grab one at random, grab this guy here, writing posts with Ghost is the title. So we'll go grab that, we'll come back here, we'll set it in this spot where that placeholder was, and we're going to click send. And once again, now we have the post, but we only have this single one in the list this time. So our JSON contains a single post that matches that ID. So again, at this point, we've done 2 requests to the CMS, to the Ghost CMS. And if we go and look at, Ghost actually has a content API documentation page. And if we just scroll down here, we can see that here's all the different gets you can get. You can get posts, you can get posts by slug, authors, tags, etc., etc. So that's everything you need to just store the information for your blogs in the Headless Ghost CMS, and then be able to access it so you can use it in your user interface, whether that's React with Node or Angular or something else. Anyway, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If this tutorial was useful for you, please hit like. If you're interested in more videos like this, hit subscribe. Otherwise, stick around for the next video in this series. And thanks again.